Okay, we are live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 178. This time we're finally in our home base. We're home. We're not doing our speaking tour, which, by the way, if you haven't noticed, we've been in and out for the past month or so. We had 2 speaking gigs. We spoke at Iowa somewhere. I think it was Iowa State to the women's group, like women in computer science. We talked about Bitcoin. I wish we could have recorded that. We weren't, unfortunately, unable to. And the feedback I got was awesome. Then we went to my library, which I posted last week or 2 weeks ago. We did we did a good talk. I thought it went really well. I posted it live.
Yeah.
It's a little rough because I didn't edit it. I think somebody said it starts at like 6 minutes and it goes for an hour and everything else. But you know what? It was that's what they wanted. We spoke about it and we'll go from there. But now we're back. We're here. And I guess that if you want us to come talk live to your group, we will absolutely do it. We don't discriminate. So if you can find a way to record a hangout, we will absolutely do it. Anyway, I heard this on a different podcast. The question was, if do you recommend to the average user that you cover your webcam with whatever, a little sticker, oval, post-it note, tape, whatever it is? And I'll go first. The answer for me is yes, only because I don't really use my webcam all that much, and if I can get it with my donation to the EFF every year, I get a pack of stickers. You know what? Why not? But I mean, yes, the green light goes on. I'm not really worried that my computer was hacked to fake the green light or turn off the green light. I know that's a thing. But if you're at that level, there's way more bigger problems than that. But I tell people, if you have a Post-it note, put it on. But usually nobody asks, do you do it? Yes, I do it. Should I do it? Depends on where if you keep your computer in your bed, maybe you should. But I don't know. Tom?
I don't cover my webcams. So, if I cover a webcam with like one of those little shutters, I'll do it for style reasons. Like if the EFF gave me a webcam cover, sure, why not? Because I like the EFF. But honestly, to me, it's not that big of a risk. Like right now, my laptop, it's got its lid closed. My other laptop, it's shut off and in a bag. But my webcam here, I can clearly see this blue light is on because I'm talking to you now. And I honestly don't think the webcam is that big of a risk to me. It sits here. If somebody turns on the webcam and watches my kitchen and, the backside of my chair, like I don't really care. The worst thing that somebody could possibly find out is that I let my dishes pile up on the counter for a long time. Like I am just dirty and lazy, and I'm a terrible, terrible person who doesn't do dishes nearly often enough. But that's the worst thing somebody's going to find about me. Now, microphones. That's where your biggest risk factor is, right? And that's not as easy to cover. Yeah, you can cover it with something, but is it really going to be that effective? Are they going to get audio and it's just muffled? Like, there's a lot of questions there. So to me, webcam, not really that big of a risk unless you're setting it up in your bedroom or a bathroom or something, or something weird like that. Microphones, yeah, definitely. But let's remember, we're all carrying hot mic devices with us each and every day.
True. So if you're looking at my screen, I have my $8 pack of EFF stickers, and yes, it costs about 10 cents to make, and it's a $7.50 or 90 or whatever cent donation to the EFF. But I'm more than happy to pay that every year because the EFF does awesome work. So our first story, and I'll ask Tom on the fly. Do you want to talk about WhatsApp or you want to talk about Ozzie?
Let's talk about WhatsApp. We can get that out of the way. I've got a feeling I'm going to go off on a tangent with Ray.
Okay. So I'll just explain it quickly. Many years ago, Facebook bought WhatsApp for something like between 14 and 19 billion dollars, depending on the stock price and everything else. And everyone said, wow, that's crazy. And that's after they bought Instagram for $1 billion, many more years prior to that. So in the meantime, They dropped the 99-cent fee so everyone can use it. And remember, WhatsApp is a text message replacement because the rest of the world, SMS prices are crazy. So WhatsApp, and now in the United States, no one's heard of it, or very few people have heard of it. But we love WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group. Just message us. We really do like WhatsApp. Like, this is not a problem. But the first guy left about 3 months ago and gave Open Whisper Systems, the Signal Group, a whole bunch of money to continue. And now the second guy, and I lost his name now, John something, Jan Koum, Koum, basically said he's leaving. And people are now scared because the headlines are he's having privacy issues with Facebook and this and that. I'm going to say that it's probably because he was golden handcuffed, which means we're going to give you all this money, but you have to stay on for X number of years. So he did. Everything vested. He's now a free man. And he probably didn't like that Facebook was doing all these changes to WhatsApp without him really liking it. So he said he's going. And everyone said, oh, privacy, privacy, privacy.
Yeah, this is a common thing in a lot of big companies when they acquire other companies. Is they'll say, hey, we like you, we like your talents, we like your products, we like your people. We don't want people to jump ship. We don't want your employees to jump ship. So we're going to give you an incentive, right? Like, hey, we'll give you a bunch of stock, or we'll give you a big bonus package, but it unlocks an X number of years. You have to stay on and do work for X number of years, keeping your thing afloat and doing good work for us before you can cash that out. It's known commonly in the industry as golden handcuffs. Lots of companies do it. And it might be that it just popped. It might be that, the issues with Facebook wanting to collect data from WhatsApp got a little too harrowing. It could be a lot of things. And frankly, we probably won't ever know.
I mean, 2 years ago, a year ago, Facebook said in the WhatsApp privacy settings, we're going to start sharing your Facebook profiles with third-party advertisers. So if you have a WhatsApp and Facebook account, we're going to make that open. And people got all up in arms and everything else. Yes, that's what happens when you use WhatsApp. That we knew that all along. We talked about last time how to limit your Facebook account, or maybe we talked about that library. But basically, you can put very little on it other than your name and a profile picture and your gender, so they call you by your right pronoun. But other than that, you don't really have to put much. And then we talked about tracking cookies and everything else. But if it's not Facebook, it's a different company. So that's why, for the most part, we still use it because it makes group chatting very easy. Now, we can talk about the difference between privacy and security, but for the most part, is our group chats. It's a group chat for WhatsApp people. It's secure. It's secure in the sense that no one can read into it. And we don't promise any security other than all the chats are secure in there, but we don't know who's in our group, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So if for whatever reason Facebook goes back and they say, hey, we're not going to do end-to-end encryption, we're getting rid of the Signal protocol, and they start making really nasty changes like that, we'll go to Signal, right? It's not a great user experience. It's really not. But we know that the integrity and security of our group chat is worth a bit more to us and the people in that group than a lot of the nice UX stuff that WhatsApp has. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I mean, we talk about, you want yes, everyone wants privacy and security and everything else. But I really like to be able to type at a big keyboard and have my messages on a big screen. And for that, I'll give away my name and my profile picture. And we've said this enough times. We did a Signal group chat. If you don't have everyone's phone number as a contact in your phone for, let's say, this group chat where we don't know anything about the people in there, it ends up being just the phone number sent you a message. And unless you remember who that phone number is, it's really tough. So you can say, oh, I know what that area code is, but if you don't, it would be really nice to put the WhatsApp username there, and Signal doesn't do it because the privacy is important to them.
Yeah, I would like the ability to set a a public Signal name. So, I wouldn't set, my full name or my social security number or even my email address or my common handle, but I could set Tom if I wanted to, which gives me plenty of anonymity among the various Toms in the world. And I would really like that ability. But we'll see. Signal is doing good work. They're making updates. They're trying to keep things more private, and they're getting better all the time.
And so I said a lot of money. That for Brian Acton was the other person. He gave $50 million to the Signal team, which is probably will keep them running for many, many years, because apparently they're on a shoestring budget as it is. So
I did see that they are hiring. So if you are technical in nature and you want to make messaging more secure, then absolutely go apply to the Signal team. They could use your help.
And Moxie, apparently people who work there like it. And again, you're doing awesome work, and you're keeping the internet as secure as we know as of this moment. And then there's a whole bunch of articles how there's better secure messaging and everything else. But for the most part, everyone's saying Signal is it. And we've spoken about this many, many times. For what our use and what our threat model is, WhatsApp works for us perfectly fine. And I love when people say, I don't have a Facebook account because I'm worried about security. I get that. There are people like that. But for the most part, I'm sure you have a Facebook account and you just want to say you don't. And I know you don't, but you also have many more other things that are way more important than being on Facebook all day.
Yeah, I don't. So I got rid of my Facebook account, not, the constantly changing privacy policies, and this is probably close to a decade ago, but the constantly changing privacy policies was annoying, and that was a decent push. But the main reason I got rid of my Facebook account was because it was just annoying. The whole thing was annoying. I was friends with people that I didn't really like in high school, but I felt like I had to be friends with them. And then literally everyone you meet at college, you have to be friends with them on Facebook. And like the 4 people in my life that I really wanted to talk to on a daily basis, I was in like a group SMS message with them already. So why not? Why have this thing laying around? And I got rid of it, and I haven't really missed it since.
But there are a lot of people like you, but there's also a lot of people who say, "Oh, I care," and then they're sharing all their baby pictures on Facebook. And look, I try not to post pictures of my kids on Facebook that were not taken in a public place. And I tell you, I give you your every 6-month reminder to go through the permissions and everything else and delete the photos or delete what you don't want on there. And yes, Facebook keeps it, and this and that never really goes away. But again, the threat model is your employer who wants some bored HR manager who wants to find dirt on you. So, okay, with that, we're actually about halfway. We want to move on to a news story that popped up on Wired magazine. If you don't have Wired magazine, it is awesome. Somebody gives me their subscription after they're done reading with it, so I do have it in my classroom, and we do read it. But Ray Ozzie, and I don't know Ray Ozzie other than I've heard the name before. I don't know why I've heard the name, but he said he came up with the right way to mix the law enforcement need to break into a device and the public's need to be private. And I think everyone agrees that this is a broken system right off the bat. And I think he does too.
Yeah, so Ray decided to do this big interview with Wired and make a big write-up about a framework to have a conversation, essentially, about balancing the needs of law enforcement with privacy. And it's yet another take on the golden keys systems with extra steps, like to unlock a device, and it's a single device, not like a master key for all devices. The manufacturer would hold the key. So whether it's Samsung, Apple, Google, LG, you name it, the manufacturer would hold the key, the encryption keys to that specific device. And then only upon validation of a judge with a warrant could the device be unlocked by the manufacturer. We've talked about this at length. There are so many problems with it, and even Ray himself said, "Hey, look, this isn't a solution. This isn't perfect. This has a lot of problems, and it can be abused. But we need to have the conversation." And I mean, honestly, the fact of the matter is, it's fine to talk about these things as long as we understand that security solutions do not exist in a vacuum, right? Anyone can make a completely 100% secure computer that is never powered on or touched by anyone ever, right? As soon as you connect that thing to the internet, as soon as you power it on, as soon as you put it in a public place surrounded by curious hackers at DEF CON, it will get hacked. Right? We saw GPG, private key material, being read out of an air-gapped computer from the EM radiation that it was giving off. We saw private key material being read out of ambient noise, like actual electronic noise given out from the speakers while the key was being unlocked. Really cool stuff, really awesome side channel attacks, which furthers the point that all of these systems do have side effects and consequences. So let's say you 100% trust the US government. You 100% trust our courts. You 100% trust law enforcement officers. You trust the powers that be with everything 100% all the way. Let's say China or North Korea or a different, pick a random dictatorship, pick a mythical dictatorship from like comic books or something, right? If Dr. Doom wanted to unlock everyone's phones, he could just say, "Hey, look, in my country of, Dr. Doom's country or Dr. Doom's nation or whatever, Apple, if you want to sell iPhones in here, if you want to do business in my country, you have to give me the ability to unlock every phone you have at will." And because Apple possesses that ability, they have to do it if they want to make money, right? It's very realistic for China, where Apple said, "Yeah, okay, fine, we'll block VPN apps in the App Store in China because we like money. We really like money. We don't want to stop making money." So they did that. Now the Chinese government could say, "Hey, look, we want a copy of every single key you have, or you can't sell these devices here." Apple would basically be forced to do it. And we can hem and haw around whether or not they would or they wouldn't give up these keys. They wouldn't give up people's privacy that way. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, why take that chance? Why give that option away? Why give up the potential for privacy? The golden handcuff system is broken. And as we've seen with several systems that were supposed to be bulletproof, these things can be hacked, right? The keys, there's a lot of great ways to store keys, a lot of great ways to protect sensitive data, but all it takes is one breach and it's over. One breach, one simple little coding mistake that got through a code review and nobody really paid attention to it because it was insignificant, but somebody leveraged that and exfilled a ton of data and sold all these keys in the black market or handed it over to whoever wanted them just to prove a point. Like, these things happen, and a system such as Ray Ozzie's, where we trust the powers that be, and we trust that wrong things aren't going to be done, and we trust that no one is ever going to make a simple human mistake, is untenable and unrealistic. It cannot happen.
So let's quickly go through the 4 steps. First off, it's called clear. So step 1, obtain a warrant for a locked encrypted phone that is part of investigation. Okay, that's simple enough to do. Go to the DA. The DA gives it. We think you're part of a drug deal. We want to know this. They get a warrant. Okay, on the iPhone or the Android phone, there's a special screen that has a QR code containing an encrypted PIN. Basically, I guess that's I want to say that's the public key to the phone. Think so? Okay.
I believe so.
I think it's the public key because then you need the private key. Step 3, send a picture of the QR code to the manufacturer, Apple, Samsung, whichever. basically proving that the warrant is legal. So you're basically sending the warrant and this QR code, and then the manufacturer sends the private key to that singular phone. Which this is where I kind of like it for this very tiny reason. Okay, it sends the private key back to law enforcement that they can unlock it, but it's just that phone. So the good thing is it's not all Android phones, it's not all iPhones, it's not all this. So it is only that phone, which makes it harder to do mass decryption of everything else. The problem is, like Tom just said, is what constitutes a warrant? Where our privacy is going to end up? Which rogue nations are going to do? We don't want the warrant. If somebody in our terrorism division says we want it, then you have to give it to us. So that idea of a warrant is just there first off, but it's not really there. I mean, it's just compelling the manufacturer, and they can fight it, but in a dictatorship regime, there's no fighting. You just do it.
There was something talked about in this paper about e-fuses being blown. Essentially, that if a golden key is used on your device or on a particular device, the device becomes inert after it is unlocked. So the phone unlocks, it says, okay, my data is available, and then it bricks itself, right? It gives up all of its data. It says, yep, you can take all of it, and then it bricks itself, which sounds like a decent idea to warn users and prevent them from hurting themselves with a completely unlocked device, right? You let the user know, hey, this is unlocked because it is non-functional. But you could easily turn that around. And there was somebody else that made this argument, and I wish I knew who. It was someone on Twitter, and I hate myself for it. But someone on Twitter made the argument that you could easily use this to coerce people. You could easily use this against people, right? How many people do you know that have expensive iPhones right now, right? Like a big iPhone, it's going to be $1,000 down the drain, right? If law enforcement says, hey, look, we don't have a warrant, but you're either going to unlock this phone or I'm going to get a warrant and brick it. And that's $1,000 down the drain. Your phone is gone. So you can either unlock this for us, or we can break your phone's kneecaps. Take your pick.
And insurance is not going to cover it because
it won't.
Because insurance is going to know what it was unlocked for. And you can't say, well, the police were after me, but they were mean to me or they threatened me. The insurance is going to say, sorry, we don't really care. And that's going to be a rider in any sort of insurance policy.
Yeah. So you could easily use things like this in a side channel way, and in a world that's not perfect, in a world that's messy and weird and has a bunch of variables. You can manipulate these systems to misuse and abuse them, and clear is just not a good solution. It's not even a conversation worth having at this point. The conversation we need to be having with the powers that be is, look, there is mathematics in encryption. There is mathematics in public key cryptography. There are mathematics to these principles that we have. And there's no way that you can make 2 + 2 = 5. There's just no way. If you give up an ounce of trust, it will get abused.
And
absolutely.
And we have many examples of this. So the first one is, okay, in the United States, fine, whatever. We have this due process system and everything else. So the assumption is that the prosecutor would have your phone, and then a judge would order this and everything else. But then you go, like we keep on saying, go to foreign regimes. So if China knows that this can happen, now obviously they're going to say, they're going to threaten Apple. You're going to let us do this power without the warrant. You're just going to make sure, now that we know you contain the private keys of all these phones, when you sell it, you need to make a list and give it to us. So we don't even need to call you. Or they just keep on going like this, or Russia, or I don't want to pick.
It could be any nation, right? It could be any nation with an agenda, with an axe to grind, and somebody to use it against. Right? It can be the most wholesome country on earth that just doesn't like Bob. There's something about Bob that they just don't like. So they're gonna break Bob's iPhone. They're gonna crack it wide open, and they're gonna take his embarrassing photos of the Christmas party, and they're gonna pin them up around Times Square. Like, they've got it out for Bob. He's a nice guy, but they just don't like him.
And you say, well, law enforcement, they're doing their job. I just always go back to the TSA keys. So the TSA made a rule that if it's going in the cargo hold and you lock it, it has to be with one of these 7 locks. And then somebody took a picture of a TSA agent with the 7 keys exposed on his belt. And guess what? Now you can just 3D print the keys to open any single suitcase made in America.
Yep.
And that was just by accident, by happenstance, and we went from there. Just that's what happened.
It was a human mistake. It was a human mistake. No, people other than security people, right? Normal people are never going to think, if I show someone my keys, if I dangle them in front of a camera, that's not going to be an issue, right? No one's going to think, oh, somebody could get this and read the depth on my keys and then make a copy and then break into my home and then make a 3D printed model that nerds everywhere can have a pack of TSA keys laying on their desk. Like, no normal, rational person thinks that way, but that's the cool techno future we live in, that if I flash my keys on camera, someone out there is going to make a copy of it because they can, and that's the only reason.
I mean, we just found the Golden State Killer by his thumb. We just caught somebody, the Waffle House Killer by his thumbprint on a picture, something like that. I don't know who it was, but based on a picture, we were able to superimpose the thumbprint that led to something, to catching that person.
This is the very beginnings of the cyberpunk future that's been in all of the awesome movies and all the awesome games, like Blade Runner to Deus Ex to Shadowrun. Like, this is where it begins, right? We take a photo in a 3D printer and we make TSA keys that can now break into every piece of luggage in America. On one hand, that's really cool and really exciting. On the other hand, it's absolutely terrifying, and I'm not sure which is taking over at this point. I'm kind of hyped.
Well, so the problem is what we're trying to do is get exfiltrate Apple secure enclave data. So stuff that's not going to iCloud. And if you thought about it, literally everything is going to iCloud. So all your iMessages are going to iCloud. All your Facebook messages can be subpoenaed by the government to Facebook. Same with Snapchat and same with everything else. We're talking about literally stuff, your files that you're putting on your phone that are now being encrypted. So any of the cloud services, they already can get that data. We're talking about so little. So if you're going to go that route, there's a lot more you're going to need to do before you get there.
There is so little data that exists on just the phones, it's not even funny, right? Like, sure, if we communicate through WhatsApp or through Signal, yes, those messages stay locked to the devices that those keys exist on. But if the government wants your iMessages or your emails or the stuff you send on Facebook or the stuff you send in Google Hangouts or whatever, right? If they want a list of whatever thing you bought from whatever site, they can get that. It's super stupidly easy to get all that. Even Apple has said to the government, look, we can't help you unlock iPhones, but here's iCloud. Here is everything we've got, right? Here's the whole thing. Here's it all. That's what they need. That's it. And the people who decide not to shove everything up to iCloud or shove everything up to, their Android backup services, they don't have to. And the data is locked to their phone, right? It's a different risk profile, right? If your phone blows up, you can't just reinstall everything by getting a new phone. It's not magic at that point. But if your phone blows up, the data's gone. Or if you wipe your phone, the data's gone. And that might be acceptable to some people. Law enforcement doesn't need this system. They don't need Clear, and we certainly don't need to be having this conversation with Ray Ozzie. I don't think Ray is malicious. I want to put that out there right now. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think this idea is very short-sighted and doesn't exist. It can't exist in a real messy world that we live in, right? I'm sure Ray's a fine guy. He's just trying to have a conversation. He's just trying to solve a problem. Totally get that. And frankly, it's admirable, right? It's a hard problem, and this is a hard position to take. And it's nice that somebody stepped out there and said something, right? But the idea is the thing we should be attacking, and the idea is fundamentally broken.
And look, I mean, he never said that this is what I was thinking about, and I know there's going to be problems. I just want to lay it out there, and
he did.
And
he did,
and it was fine. And look, it was in Wired magazine, and he said, "Yell at me and do all this," but it's to the average person who just heard that their Cambridge Analytica stole their Facebook data. This says, right, they get a warrant, they do this. Who would have thought that there's regimes that are just going to force this issue and everything else? So if I'm not doing anything wrong and they actually need to get into my phone, this may not be a bad idea. But the people who know what can happen and how regimes can work and how people can circumvent the system, this isn't a hard problem this bypass is too simple to be worth its weight.
Yeah. So we'll keep having these conversations as these solutions keep coming up. And, who's to say that in the future we might be able to solve this problem? 2 + 2 might equal 5 one day, but it's not going to with Clear.
So anyway, we're already over time, so we will end it here, and we will see everyone next week.
See you, everyone.
Bye.